Hello guys and welcome to the Isaac Muki Sports Show. We are back. Thank you for subscribing, thank you for liking and commenting. Keep hitting the subscribe button. We need more likes, we need more subscribers. Let's make this week's target 200 subscribers, 200 likes. Keep liking, keep subscribing and keep sharing. Now let's quickly deep dive into the Premiership, English Premiership predictions for this weekend. Of course, as you know, it's game week 2. It's going to be action-packed as usual. When it comes to the English Premier League, it's always action-packed. So let's quickly deep dive into our predictions, and we have already categorized these predictions professionally. We have studied the analytics, and let's quickly deep dive into those. Now, Chelsea definitely won their game against West Ham. This is the Frank Lampard derby. Chelsea was able to win that one there in London, hitting 5-1 against West Ham. So congratulations, Chelsea fans. Now let's quickly deep dive into our next prediction. The next match of the day is going to be definitely Manchester City versus Tottenham Hotspur. So my prediction for this particular game is 2-1 in favor of Manchester City. So I see Man City winning 2-1 against Tottenham Hotspur. You can share your comments and views about this particular game, the Manchester City and Spurs. Now let's move on to our next game, which is Bournemouth versus Wolves. Now Bournemouth versus Wolves is also going to be a tricky game there. Anthony Semenyo of Bournemouth on top form, having scored against Liverpool. Of course, the attack is really good. So I see Bournemouth winning at home against Wolves. So my prediction is 2-1 in favor of Bournemouth. Let's move on to the next game, Brentford versus Aston Villa. Now, Brentford and Aston Villa, of course, Aston Villa drew last weekend, 0-0. And I see it winning this time round. I will give it 2-1, Aston Villa 2, and then Brentford 1. So it's a win for Aston Villa. Aston Villa fans, keep sharing your feedback, your comments, and what you think about this particular game. But I see Unai Emery having drawn the first game of the opening season. I see him wanting to take home all the 3 points, despite the fact that he's away. But I'm sure Aston Villa will definitely win this one, 2-1. Let's move on to the next game there. Of course, it's Burnley versus Sunderland. Now, both these teams were in the championship last season, so they are familiar to each other. They know their playing styles, but I see Sunderland edging this one, 2-1 Sunderland. So I see Sunderland winning 2-1 against Burnley. So let's move on to the next game, Arsenal versus Leeds United at the Emirates Stadium. Now, this particular one is kind of tricky. Of course, Arsenal won their game against Manchester United at Old Trafford. It was a nervy win for them, but they kept the discipline, they kept the nerves and went ahead to win the game at Old Trafford 1-0. I see them building onto this momentum and winning 1-0 against Leeds United. So it's an Arsenal win at the Emirates Stadium there, 1-0 in favor of Arsenal. Let's move on to the next game there. It's Crystal Palace versus Forest, Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest has been having internal issues, of course. Espirito and the ownership not really happy, and having some kind of wrangles in there. So this might affect their performance on the pitch. And then I see Crystal Palace also having lost one of its best players. The team spirit and team chemistry may somehow deteriorate. So I see this as a draw against Crystal Palace and Nottingham, 1-1. So let's move on to the next one. It's Everton versus Brighton. Now, Everton is shifting into the new stadium, and this is going to be their first game in the new stadium. So I believe David Moyes and his boys will definitely want to kick-start with the win at home. So I'm giving it 3-0 in favor of Everton. So Everton is winning this one. Everton 3, Brighton 0. Let's move on to the next game, Fulham versus Manchester United. This is going to be a draw in my opinion, a 1-1 draw. I know Manchester United fans may not really want to hear this, but according to my analysis and how I see Fulham and Manchester United, this is going to be a draw, 1-1. So 1-1, 1 Fulham, 1 Manchester United. Our next game being Newcastle versus Liverpool. Now, Newcastle, of course, drew last weekend against Aston Villa, and then Liverpool starting off on a high, winning 4-2 against Bournemouth. So I see this being a draw. Of course, Newcastle will also want to come and prove a point. Then also Liverpool having issues in the back, in the midfield. So I see this as a draw. Both teams will share the points. So those are our weekend predictions. EPL Game 2. Keep commenting, keep sharing your subscriptions and your views about our predictions. Keep liking, keep subscribing. We are here to listen to your views and comments, what you think about the weekend games, and cheers. See you then, and we're signing out.